Oh, hi there. Didn't see you there. You've been so quiet, didn't even know you were there. My name is Jesse Sharon. I'm reading a paper by Richard A. Anderson, that's Anderson with an E, who researches neural mechanisms for visual motor integration, spatial perception, and motion perception at Caltech. Part of his research involves the development of a cognitive-based neural prosthesis for paralyzed patients. According to his website, the goal is a prosthetic system that will record the electrical activity of nerve cells in the posterior parietal cortex of paralyzed patients, interpret the patient's intentions from these neural signals using computer algorithms, and convert the decoded plans into electrical control signals to operate external devices like a robotic arm, a computer, or even an autonomous underwater mining vehicle. This paper is entitled Cognitive Neuroprosthetics. Co-authors on the paper are Grant H. Mulliken and Sam Musallam. The authors build on research done previously by Musallam and show that high-level cognitive signals in the post-parietal cortex, or PPC, can be used to decode the target position of reaching motions like this. Signals like these can be used to directly control a prosthetic device. Functionally speaking, the PPC is situated between sensory and motor areas in the brain. It is involved in converting sensory inputs into plans for action, a phenomenon known as sensory-motor integration. Within the PPC is an area known as the post-parietal reach region, or PRR for short. This region has been shown to be the most active when an individual is planning and executing a movement. The PRR receives direct visual information, indicating that vision may be the primary sensory input. A study by A.P. Batista, published in Science in 1999, explains that the PRR encodes the targets for reaching in visual coordinates relative to the current direction of gaze, also known as retinal coordinates. Because it is coding the goal of the movement and not all the different variables required for the limb to connect the target, the planning signals of the PRR are considered cognitive in nature. Decoding these signals is important to help paralyzed patients, especially those with damage to the areas of the brain that calculate limb movement variables or relay this information to motor neurons. Perhaps the most astonishing possibility is utilizing these signals to provide locked-in individuals, or those without the ability to move or speak, an avenue of communication. First, Anderson and colleagues placed electrode arrays onto the dorsal premotor cortex, the PRR, and medial interparietal area of monkeys to record signals made by these regions while the monkeys looked at a computer screen. After the monkeys touched a central cue spot on the screen and looked at a central fixation point, another cue popped up briefly then disappeared. The monkeys were given a juice reward if they reached to where the newly vanished target was at the end of the memory period, about 1.5 seconds. The monkeys really like their juice and even prefer it over food, so they are especially motivated to focus. The recordings were made when the monkeys were planning movement, but sitting motionless in the dark, absent of eye movements, ensuring that motor and sensory information were not influencing the planning activity. Next came the really cool part. The researchers conducted brain control trials using neural activity data recorded from 0.2 of a second to about a second of the memory period to decode the intended reach destination. A brain-machine interface used the decoded data to move a cursor to the spot on the screen where the monkeys planned to move, without using their limbs. Monkeys were rewarded with juice if the correct target was decoded and the cue was flashed again, providing visual reinforcement. After a month or two of training, the monkeys were much better at hitting the target and getting their tasty juice reward. This learning is a testament to the brain's natural plasticity and creates an opportunity for patients to improve how they operate the prosthesis with training. Each time the patient uses the prosthetic device, the brain can automatically make subtle adjustments to the input signal recorded by the system. Now, back to helping patients with paralysis. The researchers used reach trials to decode intentions in healthy monkeys. However, paralyzed patients cannot perform reach trials for the scientists to record reach intention data. How can they get the data needed to calculate reach goals? The answer is adaptive databases. Each time a reach decoding is successful, it is added to the database. If the number of database entries is kept constant, one trial, a less successful one, will be deleted. Eventually, the database will contain only successful decodes, making the system work better each time the patient uses it. While it is not explicitly stated, I believe it will be first in, first out, meaning the oldest data drops out first. Initially filling the database will be difficult, but with rigorous training and many trials, the system will be able to accurately discern the user's intentions. This process, along with the brain's plasticity, should enable people to control a myriad of prostheses and perhaps even motorized wheelchairs. Furthermore, in the future, precision devices could be controlled directly by the brain instead of controls manipulated by the human motor system. One hurdle to overcome is the long-term implantation of electrodes. If the electrodes are moved by physical shock, or the brain moves in relation to electrode position, the electrodes could be recording different nerves. Adjustment to electrodes is necessary to maintain an optimal signal. Individually adjusting multi-electrode arrays is a very tedious and time-consuming process. Development of automatically adjusting electrodes would mitigate this problem. Anderson's group is currently collaborating with Yu Chong Tai's lab and the Burdick lab, all three at Caltech, to make such a system that uses electrolysis-based actuators to independently adjust electrodes in a chronically implanted array of electrodes. If you're interested in learning more about this, you may visit Richard Anderson's website at vis.caltech.edu/research. And also for more on cognitive neural prosthetics, please check out my wiki page on Wikipedia.